Drum roll, please. Today on the Modern Craftsman podcast, we have a special guest, Nicholas Schiffer. Again, we're banging him out here with just the two of us. Nick and I kind of had this revelation where we need to do this, thanks to you guys, but we need to kind of dig into each other more, interview each other a little more, and see what's going on. And we hear from Nick today, and I have realized, that there's been a lot of growth over the past couple years, with all of the struggles, keeping your head above water, a lot of growth comes out of that. So you guys are going to hear from Nick about what his life looks like, what is his day-to-day, what his routine looks like, and kind of what helps him just be a good business owner, a good father, and a good human being.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, we have a lot of guests on our schedule, so we're sneaking these in to our regular schedule of guests.
Don't tell anyone
like
it's Friday.
I think you just
did. Shoot,
Doug. But the fact of the matter is, it's like you guys have given us feedback. We want to know what your thoughts are. We've never done this. Obviously, last week we talked about Tyler's routine. This week we're talking about mine. I feel both of us feel like we just scratched the surface with it, but it'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are. And yeah, let's
enjoy
it. Trader Joe has the best snacks.
Trader Joe does. It's dangerous to go there if you're hungry.
Yeah, it is
almost as bad as Costco.
I mean, it's terrible for like regular grocery shopping, but great for snacks.
Dude, they're unreal.
And frozen food, like
There's stuff that you want to think is healthy, but actually isn't. But it's like very well branded and marketable.
Yes. Meg's like, she'll bring candy home from them all the time. Good. I've kicked candy like entirely, and because I had this thing where she would bring it home, like she'd have it home. It would be like the swimmers or whatever,
Scandinavian
like,
swimmers.
Yes,
I got some right over there that I'm bringing on vacation.
And she'll like get a bag, and she's like good. She'll like eat, I don't know, one or two of them and be good. And she'll give me one or two, and then anytime she's out of the room, I'm like, 2 more, 3 more, 4.
I'm just going to have 4.
And then the next day she'll text me. She goes, "Did you eat that entire bag of candy?" I'm like, "Yep." She's like, "When?" I'm like, "Anytime you weren't in the room."
Time.
I was like, "That I can't." She's like, "Why can't you just control yourself?" I'm like, "I can't." And I was the same way when I was a kid. Skittles were my jam.
Oh yeah.
And Meg, so and I. This was probably like maybe a month ago. I had decided like no more candy. I'm just not eating candy. And it was the day after I decided. She came home with like the family size bag of Skittles. She goes, "I got these for you." I'm like,
do it on purpose?
I was like, "I really appreciate that. I'm not gonna eat those." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I gave up candy yesterday."
Oh, you didn't tell her?
No,
I thought you told her, and then she brought him home. Be like, dick move.
No. That would be a dick move. No. She didn't know. And she was like, "What? Why?" I'm like, I feel like I have an unhealthy relationship with it, and it's not good for me, and I eat too much.
Dude, when you have an unhealthy relationship with something, it's like gas on or gas off. You have to pick one. You're not like coasting, you're not doing the speed limit.
No, that shit's in my cabinet, and I look at it every day. I'm like, I hate you.
It's strength.
Hate you.
Yeah, but the Trader Joe's dried mangoes, they have one that's sweetened, and it's so good. It's just like candy, but it's so much sugar. And these are just like the dried one. But mangoes have a lot of sugar and pretty high in carbs themselves. So realistically, they don't need sugar added to them. But
no,
I just saw them on my desk because I have like a bunch of snacks for my race coming up, and I was like, "Oh, they look good." So what other things do you not have self-control with other than Skittles? My only weakness.
My only weakness. People are going to start showing up to events with Skittles like, "Here you go, dude." I don't know. I have a very obsessive personality. And it and I do think that it's oftentimes unhealthy. And sometimes it's for like a good reason, and other times it's just like for an unrealistic reason.
When did you notice that?
Truthfully, back when I started riding four-wheelers.
Yeah.
Because it was like the era of message boards and forums, and my day was consumed with that. So, I was 14, 15 years old, and I was on all these message boards, like learning all this shit. Like I bought a brand new Yamaha blaster. Like walked in with cash, saved up all summer.
You didn't spring for the Banshee?
It was the first thing. I never even rode a four-wheeler before.
Yeah.
And a Banshee would have been too much.
Smart.
And so I bought the blaster, and then it was like I was on the blaster forums, and I'm like researching like everything, the best, and I just was like down this rabbit hole. And then of course now here I am about to get my license, so then I get I buy a truck, and then I'm like on all those message boards, and I realized that whatever and it would just be constant. Like I would just be sharing stuff, talking about it, and people were like, "Dude, you're obsessed with this stuff." And it was whatever I was into at that at that moment. And truthfully, I mean, I think that it's paid off in a lot of ways. But now, like nowadays, there's things that I get in my mind that I'm like, for example, coffee. I love coffee, and I do the same thing all the time. I slowly increase my caffeine, like probably to an unhealthy level.
Yeah.
Like I have a 20-ounce cold brew, 2 shots of espresso in it.
Typical addict.
But I only do it once a day.
You're justifying.
But I do like I'm justified. But then I'll turn around and I'll go get like an energy. Like I bought Jocko's energy drinks after because they were so good, and they were half lemonade, half iced tea, and no chemicals and shit in them. But point being is like if I get to a point, or if you said to me, Nick, you're addicted to coffee, I wouldn't drink that shit for a month. The moment I'm called out on the sense that I'm like addicted to something, or like you can't live without that, I'm like, watch me.
Yeah. Do you? I mean, I pretty much know the answer to this question, but has that manifested itself through work?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Which is,
I mean,
like healthy. There, right? Like it's healthy to a certain extent. It's going to progress you, right? But there has to be a cap on that.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you right now. Right now, I'm struggling with working out, and in the sense that I'm obsessing over it to the point where it's like it doesn't ruin my day, but I get into my head that if I don't go to the gym before I go to work, I know I won't be as productive. So then it compounds into the point where it's like now I know I'm not going to be productive, so I'm thinking about how I'm not productive.
Yeah, I could definitely see that as well. Or like if you have a goal set in your mind for that, or you tell yourself you're just going to go to the gym and take it easy, and then you get there and you're like, nope, I'm going to push.
Nope. So that's a couple weeks ago I hurt my back. I went to the gym. Hey, I'll work through it, no problem. And I was on the leg press machine, and like my back really hurt. I'm like, man, like it really hurts. And I did one more. I'm like, all right, you know what? Like for me to decide to give up for the day, I was like, I really think I need to stop.
Yeah.
And I did. I showered, went to work, and later that day collapsed out of my truck, and I could not move. And I've told this story already on the podcast. I'm not going to again. But point being is like I knew I was pushing myself beyond. Like I was just trying to stay with my routine.
Do you know what you might be able to try that I started doing? So if
you tell me stretching, I'm going to tell you.
No, like if I have some way to measure my progress, it's bad news because then I'm constantly pushing. So like if I ride the Peloton, I turn off all my stats, I turn off the leaderboard, I turn off everything, and I just ride. And like I push myself, but I don't need some fucker sitting there that I'm bouncing back and forth with where I'm like, yo, I'm going for it now. Like because or if I know what my output is and I know what my best output was before, I have to beat it. Like that's why I don't play video games or like card games or anything with my family. It just is not fun. So like it's probably the same thing with the gym.
the measuring thing doesn't actually bother me, and I think, you know, I'm definitely in. I was gonna say the best shape of my life. I'm probably pretty close to being in the best shape that I've ever been in, but now it's like the progress seems to be slower, and so random fun fact:
HGH.
Since college, every single time I've stepped on the scale, every single time, I've been 174.2.
Maybe you need a
not
new
0.3. No, different scales. I'm being dead serious with you. Every single time I've stepped on the scale, and just like probably 2 months ago, I stepped on the scale and I hit 180.
Damn.
And I was like, fuck yeah! Like I'm finally like. I've always wanted to just break the 180
got like
mark.
5 pounds on you.
Bro, right back down to 174.2 the other day. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, and it's maybe I get it. I'm weighing myself at the same time of the day. It's just a very, very bizarre fact. Point being is like, you know, I work out because of the mental side of it. I'm listening to music. I'm at the gym for an hour, and it sets me up for the day. It's a good win. It feels good. I've added the sauna once a week to it, which, dude, the sauna fucks me up.
I love the sauna.
I love it, but I've been doing 20 minutes.
How hot?
I don't know, whatever the gym has. It's like, it's hot.
Are you putting water on the rocks?
You know, no, it says not to.
That doesn't mean anything.
So, well, I don't know. Dude, first off, the gym I go to,
it says not to.
I don't know if, maybe it's electric. I don't know. But some of the dudes that go into the sauna, they're in full sweatsuit, hood on, closed. Like, what? I'm in my underwear.
Yeah,
man.
Sweating it out.
But point being is, I sit in there and I set a timer in my headphone, and I leave my phone in my locker because my phone overheated the first time I went in there. And I also don't like when I'm at the gym, I don't play on my phone unless I'm late. If I go to the gym later, like I basically start my workday at 7. So if I don't leave my house until 6, like I know I'm going to be at the gym later than 7.
Gym.
So once it hits 7 o'clock, I allow myself to like just check my email and stuff. But that's like basically a punishment for me waking up late. So in the sauna, I don't, I was doing that and I was like, nope, this is my time. I have to just sit there and like breathe and chill. But recently, my heart rate has been like trying to explode out of my chest when I sit in the sauna.
Really?
And it's like an anxiety.
I'm sure.
And I don't know why. Like the first few times I did it was fine, but recently I'm like, it's like I drank a coffee and then tried to sit still. So either way, I feel great. Like it makes me feel great when I get out of there. But it's just like it's been this weird feeling, and it's almost as though I'm. You know what?
Are you measuring your heart rate?
No.
It just feels as if your heart rate is raising.
Like I can feel it on my chest. Like I can feel my heart pounding. It's like what I worry about is that I didn't set the timer.
Yeah.
And it's like, but who cares?
Yeah.
And it's like if I didn't set the timer, it's not like I'm like the door's gonna lock
desert.
on me. Yeah, the
like,
door's not gonna be like, sorry.
Like
so,
tumbleweed goes by and you see a skeleton.
Yeah, so, I mean, so 5 days a week I hit the gym, and so, but usually one of those days I do just stretch, maybe like a core workout or something, but primarily stretch and then sauna.
Sauna. What are you like going to the gym for cardio, for weights, for both?
Weights. So I've done calisthenic workouts, like all body weight, which I actually really like. And it was foolish for me to go to the gym to do that because you can literally do it at home, but it's the whole act of going to the gym. And right now, like our house is tight. When I wake up, so I wake up around 5 o'clock, 5:30, usually the latest, and I'm out of my house within 10 minutes. So by the time I'm out of bed to the time I'm in my truck is less than 10 minutes. So my kids are light sleepers. My wife's a light sleeper, so I just get up and go. That way they can sleep. And I bring all my clothes with me. I'm in my gym clothes. I go to the gym, and I shower, get ready for work there. So, but I'm not drinking coffee. I'm not eating anything before I go to the gym. I usually fill this thing, half gallon of water, and I try to drink, at least a third of it before I get to the gym. And then I usually drink, not a shake, but and it's not pre-workout. I forget what the hell it's called. It's like an intra-workout.
Like
drink.
a supplement.
Yeah, it's like branch chain amino acid drink. That's what it's called. And I work out for 45 to 60 minutes, and then shower, get dressed, and then I'm off to work.
What type of gym is this?
It's an LA Fitness.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to like the hardcore, just like gym, where it's dude banging iron. Or
no, I was going in. So I live in Boston. I was going to a gym in Boston, but they shut down in COVID. They have not opened back up. So I actually go to the gym near my office down in Avon, which isn't actually that convenient. I'm not always going to my office, but I'll still drive the 25 minutes here. And I might very well hop in the car and head back to the city, which is a wild waste of my time. But it's the fact that I have to stay structured.
Yeah, it's the routine.
It's a routine. And honestly, there's other gyms in the city that I've considered joining. I just haven't made it a priority. And then also it's forcing me to come down to the office and maybe get some work done. And it's also like $15 a month compared to $200 that I was paying in Boston.
Do you feel, I think that like 20-25 minute is a good amount of time. Like, do you feel as though that time either driving there or back to the city is like a really good time for you to kind of either mentally prepare or decompress?
This podcast is brought to you by Duration Molding and Millwork.
Nick, I don't know if you've been on Duration's Instagram lately. It's Duration Molding and Millwork, all one word, no hyphens or anything. But they posted last week about like basically what would be a traditional rake or cornice detail on a house where you have your eaves and your soffits all tying in together. And a lot of times people will use a crown molding there where they wrap from... Basically, you're taking a vertical plane and transitioning to horizontal. And there's a couple of ways to do that. There's a few articles on that you can dig into if you want to on your own. But there's a traditional cornice detail and then what would be like a poor man's cornice detail where they're terminating, resolving that crown into a flat, and then that's your vertical portion, and then just making an outside corner that dies into. But what was traditionally done when people were more of craftsmen and taking time to do things, right now it would require a higher budget typically, is they're creating two different profiles of crown molding. So you had the vertical crown that was running down your rake, and then the crown that was on your soffits would be a different profile. So when you mitered them together, transitioning from a vertical to a horizontal, you actually have two different planes and profiles that are making that work. And Duration just posted how they were using their CNC and some software to create TrueX molding, crown molding with two different profiles to make those transitions based on a specific roof slope and a specific profile that they're tying into, which to me was crazy because I feel like usually you're leaving that decision up to a carpenter in the field or nobody's sorting that out, and you have somebody rolling crown or putting it together and then sanding the two profiles to make it look okay and say, hey, that's 35 feet up in the air, it's good enough, where you can send these details over to Duration and they can actually figure out what those two profiles need to be for your rake and your horizontal crown molding and fabricate that in the shop for you. So all you have to do is miter it at that point. And I was super excited about that because that's a very classic detail that I see done incorrectly a lot. And to see them taking the time to show people how, what the right way is was pretty cool to me.
I didn't know the concept of raking crown until probably, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago and I had always wondered how you transitioned from, that front piece and then from the fascia going up to the rake. And when you realize that it's a completely different profile that just happens to work when you miter it, it's super interesting.
Yeah, because typically you need to make a vertical turn and a horizontal turn. And you guys will have to look on their Instagram, but like the easiest way to think about this would be kind of when you're coming down a wall where there's a staircase, and you're looking to wrap that same wall with trim or quarter round. A lot of times you'll notice on that skirt that it's going to have a filler that's going to transition from the vertical coming down the wall to a horizontal to be able to make that turn around the wall. It's the same exact principle with the crown molding. You cannot make that cut with a single profile of trim and just a single cut. You have to make 2 turns, and they're getting rid of that by milling 2 different profiles that'll work for you. Probably complicated. Everyone's probably super confused right now. But if you're like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. But check it out on their Instagram page. It's their last post.
Yeah, Duration Molding and Millwork for Instagram. And if you want to learn more about where to buy this stuff, durationmillwork.com. This podcast is brought to you by Rockwool. So you've heard us talk about it before, the R-Class building program. It's something that if you guys aren't already involved with, you got to get involved with. Beyond just the value of the swag box, which I talk about every week, and the free flannel shirt, which Rockwell's probably going to reach out to us and say, stop advertising that, we're running out of flannel. It's about the community, and it's about the ability to connect with not only the technical team at Rockwell, but also some of the reps that are in the field. Dan Edelman, Nick Stone, which is a great last name for Stonewall Insulation. But they, if you're on their Instagram, Rockwell NA, you'll see that they've been out on some of these job sites, and they've actually worked with us on our job sites to make sure that our details are done well. I mean, I don't know if I've told this particular story, but we actually had 2 details on a job that we actually posted about in a video, and Rockwell's team reached out and said, "Hey Nick, FYI, you're headed in the right direction, but you made a pretty critical error." And obviously I don't like hearing that, but hey, walk me through it. And they basically sent me some details, did a sketch for me, and said these are the things you need to take into consideration. Got right back to us, and that was huge. And what that, like, they're not only there for support, but they're paying attention. Like, they're watching what we're all doing, and I can only believe that they're doing it to make sure that they're protecting our investment. Make sure that their product operates the way it should, because we don't want a failure to be blamed on a particular product. But also they understand that the challenges we're facing if we're talking about it and seeing our projects come together. So if you guys want to join the R-Class program, rockwellna.com/R-Class. I'm sorry, rockwell.com/R-Class. Join that program, I believe, and they've already given one away. I believe that they're going to be running another promo where you can enter for the chance to win an entire house worth of insulation.
That's a lot of insulation.
That's a lot of insulation. I've seen an entire house get delivered, and we did not have a forklift on site. It's a lot.
Maybe they should give away a forklift.
So my drive there is usually relaxing.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about waking up at 5 is that I feel as though everyone else is sleeping. I actually would love to wake up earlier. There was a short spurt where I was waking up at 4:30, and that was like the streets were quiet.
It's like you and
even
the
the ocean. Like, even the ocean, man. Like, we're on the cove in Dorchester Bay there, and it's like driving down, it's like the water's just glass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like, the ocean's not even awake right now. And like that's the way I would picture it. And I get on the highway, get there, cruise there. So I usually just listen to music in the morning, and then I usually listen to like metal at the gym. And then for the rest of the day, if I'm in the car, it's usually lighter, more upbeat music or a podcast or audio.
So you, and this is on topic. I don't want to pull you off of daily schedule, but you and Meg go to you kind of go and see a lot of live music, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Newer music.
All over the place.
Um,
I mean, we just saw Elton John.
Did you? He's
Yeah.
new. Never heard of him.
That was his 268th.
That you've been to?
Show.
I'm a huge Elton John fan.
In his farewell tour.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I was like, wait, what?
That makes sense.
And she's like, he's been doing it for years. I'm like, I know, but there's people that sing that will never play 268
Exactly.
shows. Never mind do it on their farewell tour.
So what? You guys are a member somewhere? Hard Rock? House of Blues.
The House of Blues.
So
Yeah.
what's that? What's the deal with that?
So they have a foundation room. They have this thing called the foundation room, which is I don't want to. This isn't bougie, but it's like a private club.
Sounds bougie.
And rather, it
If
sounds
you
bougie. but
preface
it's not.
it with "This isn't bougie," it's fucking bougie.
Let me explain. So if you go to a show there, you're typically standing in line, and that line is thousands of people long. And then you stand in GA or you get your seats or whatever. We go to enough shows. When we didn't have kids, we would go to 2-3 shows a month. Now that we have kids, I would say on average we go to 1 per month, but there might be a spurt where we go to 1 every other month. But we were going to the House of Blues enough that this foundation room is direct access. So you walk right into the foundation room. They have a restaurant. So then we would walk in, no line.
So you're not with the peasants.
Not with the peasants. And we go upstairs, we get dinner, we chill. There's a bar there, there's private bathrooms, and then there's direct access to the second floor and a private member section, so you're not in a mosh pit. So it's fairly inexpensive. I mean, for the sake of the conversation, I think it's like $2,000 for a year. And we to skip the line and have direct access and all those benefits, like that's
I mean, if
worth
you're going to a
us.
dozen shows, like
Right.
if not more.
And right, yeah, and the nice part is that I opened it up to my employees, my subs. Like if they would go to a show, I can put them on the
Okay,
list.
so it doesn't have to just be you.
No, so my tile guy would go to shows a handful of times, and he'd be like, "Hey, you still have that membership?" I'm like, "Yeah." Who are you going with? He was like, "Me and my wife." I'm like, "You guys are on the list." So then they don't have to go and stand in line. So from a business perspective or networking or bringing friends, it's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we go to a lot of shows, and we go to other venues as well, not just House of Blues. It's just for probably 4 years, House of Blues was our main, like that was the best place to go.
Because I remember you guys going a lot.
All the time, yeah.
But that was probably, maybe Marley was born. It definitely wasn't.
Yeah,
3.
we actually took Marley to a show when she was 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
There, and she was in the baby Bjorn, and she had a hat on, and we put little
headphones.
We didn't
Ear
have
muffs?
headphones at the time. Not even earmuffs. It was paper towels over her ear and put a hat over it. And a cop walked up to us. We were standing in the back row. And he goes, "Do you have a baby with you?" And we're like, "Yep." And he walked away. And we're like, "What the fuck?" So he came back. He goes, "You guys are all set." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "I just wanted to make sure that the decibel rating wasn't too high for the baby."
Really?
So he was like, "I just checked the decibels back here, and you guys are in a good spot." And I was like, "Dude, you're the man." He goes, "No, you guys are awesome. Like, what? You're such cool parents." I thought we were getting kicked out.
Sir, what's on your chest?
But so yeah, I mean, music is a huge part of our life, and most of the music that we go to together is the stuff she likes.
Yeah.
I like anything. I'll go to a handful of shows that she won't come to. Like, I like Kill Switch Engage.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Have fun." I'm like, "You don't want to come?" She goes, "Absolutely not." I'm like, "Fair enough." Like, that's a pretty aggressive band to pretend to like in a setting.
Yeah. Do you think it's so like you're going to see a lot of bands that you don't like or don't know? Do you find that difficult, like to go to a show where you don't know the music?
No, because for the week leading up to it, Alexa is playing that music all day, every day. So I know the music by the time I get there. And at this point, we're not going, like, there's not a lot of new bands that we're going to see. So, and I've developed a love or respect for that band by the time I'm getting there. Anyway.
Because realistically, a concert is so much better when you know the music. Like, even if it's a fantastic show, when you know the music, it's night and day different. Like, I've gone and seen, like, spin-offs of bands where it's like it's the lead singer, it's the bassist. Like, a lot of the smaller bands don't make enough money touring just with the band that they have like many side projects so that they can tour all year round and sell merch and sell albums and all that stuff. But like, even then, sometimes like knowing the original band's music and where this is coming from and some of their music, when they start getting into other stuff, I'm like, play one I know.
It's funny. A lot of times I'll be like, Meg, I've never heard of them. She's like, Nick, you know exactly who this is. And I'm like, no, I don't. And we'll get there. I'm like, hey, I know this song. She goes, yeah, I know you know this song. And it's cool. We have a place up in New Hampshire, and it's actually like, I think it's probably a little over a quarter-mile walk, maybe a little longer than that, to the New Hampshire Bank Pavilion. So when we're in our backyard, we can hear the music. Cool. So we're like connected there, but we'll also go to shows up there. So, and we'll time out, like when we go to New Hampshire, we'll find time to go to see a show up there as well. So
obviously music's a big part of your life. You're listening to music at the gym, in the sauna. What about when you get done at the gym? What's up next?
Books.
Yeah. All day?
So, no, not all day. If I'm driving. I find that driving, I spend a fair amount of time driving, and I find that to be a giant waste of time. So I'm a terrible passenger, because if I wasn't, I would hire someone to drive.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I would rather sit in the passenger seat if I was a good passenger and get work done. So I find that if I'm going to be driving and I have the mental capacity, I will listen to a book. And right now I'm listening to probably 3 different books, and then I also have 2 hard copies on my nightstand. And I'll just flip between them, depending on what I want to read right now.
Are you able to read actual books, or do you just like, obviously you can't read while you're driving, but if you sat down or you were on vacation, would you read an actual book versus listening to it? Do you have a preference?
No. That's what I mean by I have 2 hard copy books on my nightstand. Okay. So I'll read those like getting into bed, or I'll bring it on vacation and skim through it. But would you
prefer that over an audiobook?
No, I don't. No. I think that it takes me... Reading an actual book is actually something that makes me really tired.
Yeah, same.
So I think I would prefer... If I really want to learn and understand it, the audiobook is definitely better for me.
Yeah.
But I like having a physical book, just like... kind of similar to like how you like coffee, right? It's just... I like the actual act of flipping a page and reading a book.
I agree 100% with you. And I think that's similar to... like listening to games on the radio versus on TV. There's like a romantic notion with having a book in your hand and, flipping the page and holding that and dog-earing a page, and then like being able to store that book on a bookshelf that you're looking at. Hey, like I read all of those books versus pulling open your phone and seeing your library.
Yeah. So I really like that part of it, is like seeing, like I have a bunch of books stacked up on my desk right here that are books that I've read, and part of me wants to order all these like audiobooks that I've listened to just to have the book. And I also like the fact of like being able to dog ear the page or highlight something. Not that I ever will go back to it. And if something's really really interesting to me, especially now with the iPhone that reads text, like I'll like scan it and then like save a quote out of it. I don't do it that often, but there's every once in a while I'm like, man, that's a really good quote or really good like nugget to remember, like when I'm in this position. Most of the stuff is about like leadership and self-development and business development and growth and scaling a business. I've listened to some or read some that, are around better marriage, better parenting, but it's always about like self-improvement.
No, I think a bookcase, I don't know, it's super cool. Like you go to like somebody's house or studio and they have this like massive book collection that they've like thumbed through all the pages on. It's way cooler than being like, here's my Audible on my phone. Right. Look how many books I've read. It's not the same. I'm going to like take a screenshot of my Audible books and put it up on the wall.
Yeah, and for a while, years ago, when I was listening to a ton of them, I would screenshot them and share them on social media because it was like, I want people to know what book I'm reading, or people would ask me what book I was reading. So, all right, going back. So, morning, up at 5. I'm at the gym before 6, and I'm usually wrapped up and then showered and then leaving the gym by 7. And at this point, there's a smoothie shop in the gym, which is awesome.
Damn.
So then now I know, pretty bougie for $15 a month.
I'm saying.
So I will typically get like a smoothie on the way out, but I still need to eat. Like I can suck that thing down, and I'll get like a bunch of fruit in me, but I need to eat still. So then at that point, I'll usually order breakfast and pick up a coffee. And coffee's right next door, and then I'll hit the office. But each of my days is different. Mondays is dedicated to all my site visits. So I go to every single job, check in with what's going on. I'm usually a part of our production meeting, which is me, the director of ops, Julian, project manager, and site super. And we just talk about production, typically centered around like what's our 3-week look ahead on the job. Spend about an hour there, and then I piggyback that with filming our site visit, and then a bunch of reels.
So is Doug coming to every site visit with you typically on Mondays? Okay.
Yeah, he is.
So it's like intentionally Monday, starting the week, let's get a 3-week look ahead and kind of get off on the right foot.
Yep. So touch base with the team. They're good. I step away. Doug's been capturing B-roll and updated photos for the job. I put a mic on. I film for 20 minutes, and then we're off to the next job. So the caveat to that is on Mondays, most of my Mondays were starting in Providence. So I would leave the gym and go and get coffee and breakfast down in Providence and then go to the job.
That place is good.
I know. It's so good. It's like I'm thinking about that coffee right now. So shout out to Nitro Bar in Providence. It's my brother introduced it to me. He lives in East Providence, and every time I'm down there, I'm like, quick right turn over here.
Coffee was good. Breakfast was good.
I was in there the other day, and I usually order it online. And I went to the counter and ordered it. And he's like typing my order, and he looks up. He goes, "Nick, right?" I'm like, "Ooh,
yeah,
right. I'm Nick." I'm like,
I love places like that. Like
I do too.
I don't know. It reminds me of more like West Coast, where like people are gonna hang out and do some work instead of working from home. It's like let's get out of my house today, go work at a coffee shop. You try and do that around here, and I'm just like, it's muggy, like mosquitoes biting me.
There's a lot of good coffee in Boston too. So if I'm in the city, I'll tip. If I'm going back to the city, I'll wait, get back in the city, and go. And truthfully, as much as I'm wasting time driving, I'll go out of my way for good coffee.
Yeah, same. It's worth it.
And my office is not in a good food location. Everything sucks about food around here. So that's one thing I'm not good at, making lunch or making breakfast. So I do spend a fair amount of money ordering breakfast and lunch every single day.
Is it like you have to get out of the house? Is that something you could prep the night before? Is it something you just don't enjoy doing?
I could definitely prep it the night before. I just don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
It's just not, and I went back and forth on whether or not that was a bad thing. And in my mind, it's only a bad thing if I'm eating crap. Yeah. And if I can get good food out, then you know what? I'm not typically driving to go get it. So yeah, I'm paying for it to be delivered, or I'm making it a part of my day. Like if I go somewhere for lunch, then I'm usually working.
Yeah. No, and as long as
So
like if it were health reasons, time reasons, or like family reasons for doing so, like we're gonna do all this as a family, that's
yeah,
one thing. But like if you're able to eat healthy, you feel good about it, and you can kind of progress and be efficient through your day, it's
that's
like,
it.
yeah, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
And truthfully, I do think, we just moved into that new house, which is not a new house. We're going to be renovating it starting in 12 months. But it's also just not a comfortable, like the kitchen's not
Yeah.
comfortable. It's wonky. And I think that when our renovation is done, we will want to spend more time in the kitchen and eating and cooking, because in our last house we cooked a lot more than we are now. And it's because the house is just not set up for it. It's this, like I said, this wonky kitchen that it's not easy to cook in, clean. It's just frustrating. So we end up ordering out a lot or going out to eat. So Tuesdays, I actually had my calendar open just to see what this week. Um, yeah, so Monday, that's completely dedicated to all of my site visits. And then, so I usually wrap my day up on Mondays around 5 o'clock, and then I usually head home. Tuesdays, so I have a standing meeting every Tuesday morning for content, and that's when I meet with Doug as well as Catherine, who helps me with all of my content
That's
scheduling.
in the office.
It's on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, so oftentimes I got a laptop mount in my truck, so I take a lot of meetings from my truck, not driving, but from my truck. Um, and so we'll run through kind of like what's on the plate, what are the things that we need to make sure that we're attacking. Catherine just started with us, and she was a big strategy move into the sense of like making sure that we're taking advantage of other platforms, and also making sure that we're following up on whether it's a partnership that we agreed to, or a promotion that we need to get out for an event, or even for the podcast. She's been involved with making sure that the content is being produced.
And how long has she been working for you?
3 weeks.
And did Doug
Yeah.
find her, or did you find her?
I found
Okay.
her. So she actually used to work at Builders.
Oh, all right, all right. So,
So-
what was like, what was the need that kind of?
I wanted to increase the amount of content that we have. The opposite problem that most people have. Most people can't create enough content. We have so much content created that we can't distribute
Yeah.
it fast enough. Every video I've ever done, I have a written blog for. And if you go to my website, my website gets a new blog every week, and those blogs are from videos I did 6 months ago. That means there's 6 more months of blogs that need to be
So
posted.
you basically brought her on to help, like, be the
Distribute
liaison
content.
between production and pumping it out.
Yeah. So like structuring it, pulling out like additional content, pulling out content ideas, and just really just like managing the content platform. So I meet with her every Tuesday, and then every other Tuesday I meet with my brand team over at Slash to talk about our website, and also just like things that we have that we're working on in the background. If I maybe it's an upgraded or updated truck lettering. It could be a sales proposal PDF that we're working on right now. So they're basically we're fine tuning our our brand and how it's across everything, like T-shirts, everything.
All the time.
Every 2 weeks we meet.
And
Yeah.
what's the return on that for you?
Mainly it's to make sure that the website is constantly updated, and that we continue to refine our message.
Okay.
So a lot of it has been like refining what we're saying to make sure that we're attracting the right people.
So you ran into that a couple of years ago where you wanted to get into a home building market, and you have people coming to you for small odd jobs, and you're like, all right, I'm not marketing the right type of project.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
that's been like, so is the goal to keep them on kind of every 2 weeks, like infinitely?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
They're on a I have them on a retainer for every year, and because I'm constantly kicking them like, hey, I got a new a sweatshirt, or actually I'm doing a golf event, so they're like they need a 1-page ad, and he's like, got it, I'll take it, give me the specs. I send him the specs, and he comes up with like a killer 1-page ad for the site. I want him to do it because he's the creative behind the brand, with obviously my direction, but or like we're like working together on that. But ultimately, I want the consistency, and that's really important to me. Is that when we lay out a T-shirt, when we lay out a sales proposal, when we lay out the website, I want everything to be consistent. And when someone's dedicated to it, I feel like the return is better.
So is the consistency like across brands as well? Like, how much of a crossover is there between you and Materia or Motif as far as this goes?
They are all individual. So each company has a different retainer.
Okay.
So Materia is very much its own thing. NS Builders is very much its own thing. Modern Craftsman and Motif. So the consistency between them is not an important part.
I mean, you obviously don't want them to clash. It's not, it's not like you can't have these side by side as far as brand goes.
No, and like you think of Materia, right? Like the whole design behind Materia was to be feminine and softer and had those pink colors, and where NS is very stark, like white and black, super refined, like quote unquote cutting edge, more sleek, where and then Motif is a little bit of both, but playful in the sense that it's got the red dot. So so I meet with them every other week, and then I have like a standing client meeting on Tuesday afternoons right before our podcast, which we record every Tuesday at 3, as you said. Wednesdays, I usually meet with my CFO, and then as well as my client liaison for the home care program. So I just have standing meetings with them. Sometimes they're 5-minute calls. Sometimes it's 45 minutes to an hour.
And you're scheduling them at the same time every week, just so you don't have to like.
Yeah, so like I meet with my CFO at 11. I meet my liaison at 12:30.
So it's simple. So you're not like, this week I have to meet with them, and you don't have to remember. It's almost habit at that point.
Almost habit, yeah. And then Thursday I have 2 client meetings, which like basically are OAC meetings, owner, architect, client, and sometimes those are weekly, sometimes they're bi-weekly. And then everything else just kind of gets filled in week to week. So what, something from a work schedule, like as far as like standing meetings or like miscellaneous meetings, let's talk big picture, right? I try to be home every night by 6 o'clock. That's something that's important to my wife. It makes her life exponentially easier with the kids. If I'm home by 6, it's better. I've been much better about not only being home by 6, but if I do free up at 5 o'clock, I head home.
But it's important to kind of note that you were like the opposite of that for a long time.
I was like, I would have my phone on my desk with Waze telling me what time I had to leave, and it said, all right, 5:58 arrival. I'm like, all right, 2 more minutes of work. Yeah. And I would sit there, and then I would drive home, and it's like 6:01, and I'd be like, shit, 6:03, 6:10. And it frustrated her, and I would get frustrated, be like, it's 5 minutes, it's 3 minutes, it's 6 minutes, and she's like, that's not the point. The point is like you're intentionally doing this, and I understand, and I ultimately I was like, and I was doing it for no good reason, because when you're like working down to the minute and trying to get something done in 2 minutes, it's not going to take 2 minutes. Like you can't. So that was a shift for me, where it's like, you know what? Sometimes I'm just going to be. I showed up a couple weeks ago at home at like 3:30. She was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I was just kind of done for the day." And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I have stuff to do, but I wasn't going to get it done in another hour. So it's not that
That's
important.
funny. I've
So
had the same type of switch lately where it's like, yeah, I got done what I got done, and normally my mind goes, well, what else can you do right now?
what can
And
I
I'm
do
like,
next? Yeah.
I'm gonna start that, and I know I don't have enough time for it, but I'm telling myself I'm gonna have enough time for it, and then I start doing it, and then I'm stressed the f out trying to finish it, and then it's like, at this point now, I'm just like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah. So I have been really focused on being more intentional with my time at work and trying to be like trying to get into more deep work and not focus on like the minutia and making sure that, I'm delegating the stuff I truly should be delegating. And that's why I'm also hiring, where there's things I'm doing that I shouldn't be doing because either I don't enjoy them or I'm not efficient at them. Where it's like if I had someone running pre-construction for us and handling the estimating, that could come off my plate. I could have someone that's more efficient and do a better job at it, and then I could focus on, again, the vision of the business.
So that, like, your meetings, obviously you're filling in with, I'm sure, site visits and checking in with people, ensuring that things are running between all the different companies the way that they have to. But like your main responsibility within the business right now, you're still handling pre-construction, but then it's these client architect meetings.
So I'm usually just sitting in the client architect meetings, and my PM is running it. So I'm just there like to make sure that I'm still in tune with what's going on, and if they have a question for me, they can ask. But I'm really encouraging my PM to take ownership of those and also communicating that to the client. But as far as filling in other things, I mean, this week in particular, if I look at it, I also had, I got coffee with someone in the middle of the day to catch up with someone. I had a lunch meeting with another builder. I interviewed 3 potential candidates for jobs. And then I also do some of those consulting calls.
And then you're also doing like inquiries as far as customers getting a hold of you guys for potential leads.
Yeah, so following up on leads, and then I missed one. One is I also sit down with Ken on Materia, and we talk about operation meeting, and I also have an operations meeting for NS. And those are both also standing meetings. So I sit down with Julian, and we talk about high-level operations on NS, and then I also sit down with Ken and talk about high-level operations for Materia.
So your week is kind of structured around these standing meetings that are just a consistent, every single week, this is what we're going to be doing. And then you're kind of infilling that week day to day, or if something comes up, you have some flexibility there within your schedule.
Yeah, and typically Fridays and Thursday afternoons I leave as flex, because Fridays I like to kind of have a time, like just time to do what I need to do, and also if I want to take off early and we head up to the lake, like I can do that, and I can, usually what I'll and going back to the driving, like a lot of times I'll schedule a lot of my consulting calls around my longer drives. So if someone wants to hop on a 1-hour consult, I can schedule that around my travel from Rhode Island back to Boston.
Okay. And then, so your work day's done. You're getting home around 6, you said? You have 3 kids. Wife is working some.
She part-time realtor. It's not a consistent. It's not consistent. Her primary focus is the kids, and and the
So
house.
what does your evening look like?
We're pretty good about eating together. I'll text Meg on the way home. Hey, would you like me to pick up dinner? Are we gonna cook dinner? We'll make a decision on that. Sometimes the kids will be eating on my way home. But we try to be pretty consistent with eating at least together. And usually it's right when I get home, we're eating dinner. And then after that, we're, just chilling. We might go for a walk, might go to the park. The other day, I took him across the street to the bowling alley for an hour. Or maybe we'll just veg and, let them watch a show, and Meg and I might just chill and chat for a bit. And then we start bedtime typically with Indy like 7:38, and then once she's down, then we start bedtime with the other two. And I mean, if I'm home, I'm doing bedtime, and I would say 99% of the time, Meg is also doing it with me. And obviously, if one of us isn't home, the other handles it. But, I sit down with Indy. I read her as many books as she points to, which is usually all of them. And then, Reed and Marley are a little bit more, stubborn in the sense like bedtime usually takes an hour. And it's like, you guys, just stop jumping from bed to bed, stop jumping up and down, stop screaming. Yeah. Let's just lay down. And most of the time we're reading them a book, sometimes we're not. Then they're like, can you please lay with me, I'm afraid. So we do the laying, and then finally I get downstairs, and Meg usually wants to watch a show or mindlessly scroll on social media, and we'll just kind of chill and be in each other's company and tell the kids to get back in bed 3-4 times.
I know that.
And then they fall asleep, and I'm usually going to bed by 10:30.
So you're not working. I know a lot of times you used to get home so you could get home on time and then get everyone to sleep and then work after that. You're not doing that anymore?
Zero.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I would, for a long time, I would bust out the computer 9:30, 10 o'clock again, and work late into the night. I'll do it randomly, but it's usually for different reasons, like a side project, or we're trying to buy something, or I'm booking a trip right now, so like I'll work on that stuff where I try not to do that at work. Like I try to make work about work, and then that stuff kind of in addition to it.
I guess my question to that would kind of be twofold. One, how has that affected your home life? And two, how has that affected your business life? Have you kind of had to make up for that somewhere else? Have you delegated that? But I also what, as far as your personal life, how has that changed?
From my personal life, it's changed in the sense that I've put more of an effort of putting my family first, putting Meg first, putting the kids first. Something you said in last week's podcast with your, when we were walking through your day-to-day or week-to-week, we don't get this time back with the kids. And I do have to tell myself that on a repeated basis, where sometimes I get frustrated and it's like, just go to sleep. And, or they're like, please lay with me. I'm afraid. And I don't want to. And then I'm like, there's going to be a day that I'm like, I want to lay with you.
And they don't want you to.
And you're going to tell me to get out of it. Yeah. And this is and I know I'm not alone with this stuff, but there's things that, for example, this show Meg watched, she loves those murder shows.
Yeah.
And I don't know what is that women and murdering.
And then they can't sleep.
But yeah, right. None of them can sleep. But there was one where it was about a kid that, I forget how he died, but they're interviewing the husband, and he was like, I remember waking up that morning, and I went into I went into the gym, and I did the Peloton for an hour, and I got ready, and I went to work, and then my wife called me and said that whatever his name was, Charlie, was dead. And I drove home, and I all I thought about was the fact that all he wanted me to do the night before was read a book, and I told him no. And my hair,
that's heartbreaking.
I'm like, fuck, man, and then it reads read the dinosaur book again, and I'm like, yeah, okay, and I'm not, and I say that it's easy to say that, but in the moment,
it's
there's
still
a lot of times
hard.
No, it's time for bed. It's time for bed. So that's where I feel as though I put a lot of pressure on myself there, and I feel like everything I do is for my family, and I know that that's not true. Me working as hard as I do and trying to grow the business and be successful and be create wealth and buy things and do this and do that. Like I like to think that I'm doing all this for my family, but the reality is there's a big part of it I'm doing it for me.
Absolutely.
Which yes, my family can and will benefit from it, but I can't say this is all for my family.
Yeah, and I think the big differentiator there is your kids are at the age where they don't know. They wouldn't understand if you guys were wealthy or not wealthy. And you ask them, would you rather have daddy here or daddy not here? And, like, you know what their answer is going to be. And I think that, like, that's where the integration and a little bit of that balance comes in. And you working and providing for your family is one thing, but, like, that's kind of the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional support and the mental support, that takes time. You can't buy that. You can't put a price tag on that. So that's a little bit harder, where it's like, well, yeah, like, we have all this because of me. And it's like, yeah, but you need to be there for them too. Right.
So that's where, the time at home, I do my best not to be on my phone when I'm at the house. I'm not the greatest at it, but I do try to make a conscious effort and disconnect myself from work. There's a point, for example, when my guys do all the daily logs, I read every daily log.
Yeah.
And there's usually one that will straggle kind of late, and I'll think about it until it comes in. So if every daily log comes in, I can mentally check that off in my mind, and then I put my phone down, and I'm not as worried about it anymore. There's nothing to worry about. It's just like that one thing I just want to see.
Yeah, it's like the last light
complete.
switch you want to just flip off. Then you can shut the door.
And so, like, in bed and stuff like that, I usually don't aimlessly scroll. I'll scroll on the couch. I'll scroll. I'll randomly scroll on the couch. But if I'm going to bed, usually it's like phone's down, alarms on, my bag's packed for the gym in the morning. I got clothes for the morning. My shoes are all set, and I go to sleep.
You're setting the tone for the next day.
Setting the tone. So when I wake up, I grab my bag, and I walk right out the door.
And then brush your teeth at the gym.
I brush my teeth at the gym.
Yep. You heard it here.
I don't do. Maybe I take a leak before I leave. I'm being serious.
Like, I'm waking up and getting the heck out of here.
I put my shoes on downstairs, and I leave. It's, I throw a hat on, I throw a shirt on, I put my gym shorts on, and I'm gone.
That would be a lot easier. I feel like the morning routine is like an hour, and then once everyone wakes up, it's like, can you fill my water bottle? Can you find my other sandal? I need suntan lotion. This itches.
And yeah, this itches gets me every time. So I think that's one area that I go back and forth with, as far as, like, could I be more helpful in that situation, in the morning routine situation? And I would like to be there more for Meg and the kids. But right now, it's the one thing that I can control that gives me more time in my day. If I woke up at 2 a.m. or 6 a.m, it doesn't change anything with them. So this is my opportunity where I can wake up as early as I want and do the things I need. And as long as I then get home, I'm not working until 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'm home between 5 and 6.
I also think that, like, you spend 50% of your effort goes towards the kids in the morning and 50% at night. I think that 100% at night is going to be more gratifying for everyone, where it's not
because
disruptive.
Honestly, the 50% in the morning, I was doing it, and it was just frustrating.
Yeah.
Meg.
It, like, 50 in the morning and 50 at the night does not equal 100 at night. It's not the same.
No. So, like I said, Fridays, I try to scoot out early, and if we're going to go up to the lake, we try to go up to the lake, and I'm off. I'm not working. I've developed a healthy habit of checking my email, but not being buried in it. As long as there's no big issue, I'll address it if I have to. But if it's not a pressing thing, it waits till Monday. And we usually stay up there. We'll do dinner up there and then drive home Sunday night. And I roll into
and
the
that's
week.
cool, man. And I'm like super happy for you guys because of that, because I know, look, a year ago, 2 years ago, where you're trying to navigate the business and build the business and then scale back. And it's like, how do I separate myself from this, that I can have nights? And like, I knew that you didn't know how you would be able to just go home and not work. And like, you're obviously trying a million different things, and to be able to have nights and weekends off, own a business with, almost 20 employees, and continue to grow and refine your processes, like, that's huge. And getting there, I know it definitely was a struggle. I'm sure it's not as seamless as, it may sound on this, but the consistent effort towards getting there, I think that that's really important. And nothing in life is going to be perfect. So as long as you're putting in that effort and you're intentional in it, like you said, I think that that's going to count a lot for business and for family.
Yeah, and one of the things that you asked me is like, from a professional side of things, like how has that affected me professionally, or how I been able to do that? It's my team, and it's the investment in good people, but also in the investment in the systems and processes that that team needs in order to operate at a high level. So yeah, I've been able to peel myself back and give my team some ownership and lead by example, but not be micromanaging everything that they're doing, and giving them some freedom. So I can, when I am in the working on the business, it truly is like the vision of it, and thinking big picture and how we want to grow and the things that we want to go after. And, same thing with Materia. Like, obviously NS is like my main focus, but Materia and Motif and the Modern Craftsman, those are all other entities that, I'm working with someone on. Like you and I, it's like, this is a partnership. Like Materia, that's a partnership with Ken, and Motif is a partnership with Doug, and I want all those to succeed just as much as the next one. So if I can take the seat of the visionary and making sure that, I'm guiding it in the right direction, I feel as though I'm doing my part. And when I have to get into the weeds, I get into the weeds. And looking back and just kind of recapping everything we just talked about, the one thing that I would like to improve on is I would like to improve on my structure day to day, in the sense of all of those standing meetings I do have. It would be nice, something I've been dabbling with is I would actually like to move all of those meetings to the afternoon. So when I get out of the gym from 7 to lunchtime, there's uninterrupted work. Because I feel like if I had those 5 hours uninterrupted, no meetings, I could get really deep work done, and then have my whole afternoon to handle meetings. And it's something that I think that I will test out. But I feel as though then at that point, I can have a lunch meeting. I can have meetings after lunch. I can meet with people that want to meet. And now I have the actual opportunity to get the deep work done, which is something that usually lacks. Usually my week fills up with a bunch of meetings, and I don't end up working on a particular project or pricing, or, I have that PDF sales document I'm working on with Slash. It's in my court for now 4 weeks for me to review. So now that's being held up because I haven't sat down, taken an hour to add comments to a PDF.
Yeah. And I obviously I've known you for a while, and I've seen the transition and what you've gone through and everything else. And it could be more out of sight, out of mind, but like from 2 years ago, even from a year ago today, it seems as though you being in the weeds less is much better for you and for the family and for the business. Like, it's almost as if you're not fretting on the day-to-day issues and hiccups, and you're focusing more on a bigger picture. And those things aren't hanging you. Like, I remember your struggles and your anxieties used to be about just like this happened, that, and it's all very specific. Like, they're big issues, but it was all single point issues that, like, I don't know. Maybe there was a resolution for them. Maybe they were just mistakes, and like unavoidable mistakes. And I think that now you're like where a lot of that energy is going is towards bigger issues where it's like, how do we grow this? How do we create the infrastructure for this? How are we dealing with this bigger problem, not these like single point issues that you could spend all the time, money, and resources on, and like shit's just gonna happen. And I think like wherever you are, whatever space you're in now, mentally and from a business perspective, it seems as though it's like a much healthier space for you and for your family and for the business.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think a lot of it has to do with my, ultimately, like one of the biggest reasons I started working out is because, I started thinking about the importance of things in order. And for me, the most important thing for me is me. And I mean that because if there's no me, there's no family. And with no me, there's no business. So it's me, my family, and my business in that order. So if I want to be at peak performance for my family and peak performance for my business, then I need to be in peak performance.
Absolutely.
And that's where, a better diet, working out more, exercising more, like those are the things that have taken precedence over everything, to the point where, like I said, if I wake up late and I want to be at work by 7 and it's 6:30 and I haven't went to the gym, that sucks, but I'm going to have to go to the gym, and and then from 7 to 7:30 I'm going to be reading emails or addressing things in between a set.
Yeah.
But if I skip out entirely, then my day it's not good for my head.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get your life vest on first before you can help anyone else. And I think that, if you want to be the best husband, the best father, the best business owner, you have to be the best version of yourself first, because if you're only 50% of yourself, like, you're not going to be 100% of yourself as a business owner. So it definitely starts with you. Well, cool, man. I guess I never really sat down and thought about how much personal growth has accompanied your business growth until this conversation. But like, I remember conversations that we used to have, and it was, like I said, it was almost like all single solitary issues, and you've grown to having bigger issues, larger issues. And like, you're not, getting bogged down in the weeds. You're up a little bit higher now, dealing with the bigger, more important things. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, it's funny that we've never really talked like this.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. We definitely never recorded it.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, we've definitely had some personal struggle conversations offline, but cool. Well, I mean, for everyone listening, I'd be super curious. I'm sure we'll get feedback from both sides, but wondering if stuff like this is helpful, and if there's anything that I can answer directly, or Tyler, like, obviously reach out to both of us on Instagram, or our pages, both of our pages, or the Modern Craftsman. Happy to dig into any of this stuff more. That hour went by a lot faster than I expected, and I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface.
We'll
but
have to do it again. Maybe we'll have a standing meeting.
All right, I like that. In the afternoon.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm excited to hear the feedback on these.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week.